Hey everybody, it's me, Charlotte360, and I have a box here. And from what I understand, this box is from G Market. And I have never noticed this before. Maybe it's because I don't pay attention the way I really should. But apparently, G Market ships under eBay Korea, which I have so many questions about that I don't want to get into detail about it, but I just feel like if G Market literally is eBay Korea, why don't they just take all the sellers from G Market who ship international and just put them on US eBay? But that's just me kind of wanting to get out the middleman because sometimes I find G Market not fun to deal with, and so I would really prefer just to use eBay. But that's just me wanting to, again, like I said, cut out the middleman, avoid a little personal trouble on my own side. But anyway, as you might be able to tell from the title of this video, I'm about to unbox, open a package of albums that I haven't heard. I've not heard any of these albums, but I bought them because they were albums from people I trust. And that goes a long way when it comes to me. I saw somebody on Twitter, because people are always saying irresponsible things on Twitter. Someone on Twitter said, if you're really in it for the music, then you would buy more K indie bands. And, you know, hey, Alondra, you have all the albums I'm about to open up here probably. And I kind of have a qualm with that, because liking the music doesn't necessarily mean you like a genre. And K indie tends to be more on the rock side of things, and I'm not a person who listens to a lot of rock music. So yeah, when it comes to me and K indie bands, not really too into it. But I appreciate a lot of K hip hop, K R&B, more on the K R&B side than the K hip hop side, but I appreciate a lot of that. And I do support it because I am here for the music, but you also have to consider, like, what kind of music were people listening to prior to getting into K-pop, because there's a lot of people who buy K-pop because they were people who enjoyed NSYNC, Backstreet Boys, Britney Spears, One Direction. And so they're getting the music that they listen to. And I think it's really shitty for people to assume that just because you like the poppy side of K-pop, you're just doing it for aesthetics. That's not the truth. Some people just really like pop music. And K-pop is heavy on the pop. So anyway, just thought I'd go ahead and put that out there because it's a conversation worth having. Also, I did have a conversation very recently about my feelings about Dara leaving YG. I can recap that conversation, but if you want to see that conversation the way I held it the first time, you can go to my IG, and you can see me and Jade, who's Angels 2014 here on YouTube, talk about our feelings and our thoughts regarding Dara leaving YG and the possibility of a 2NE1 reunion. I personally feel like it could be done, but I don't think it's like we're going to get 2NE1 all over again and they're just going to be a group again. I feel more of just like, I'd like to see them do a one-off project that gives 2NE1 the proper send-off that it deserves. Because, you know, I'm sorry, I don't believe that Annyeong was a good goodbye song. I feel like that song, from what they inferred, it was 2NE1 saying goodbye to Minji. It wasn't them saying goodbye to the fans. But it was the last 2NE1 song because shortly after, YG made it seem like, oh, because Park Bom can't get it together, 2NE1 can't release any more music, so they're just done so. Which, you know, it's one thing for like a no-name group that hasn't been popular in a really long time to just disappear without any kind of farewell send-off. A group like 2NE1 deserves more than that. They deserve a beautiful last time with everybody surrounding them and sending them well wishes and just better than what they got. And no, that's not true. That's not true at all. That's what I'm saying. Listen, I realize you're a bigger 2NE1 fan than me, but I'm telling you now, that song did not come out before the disbandment, because the disbandment was announced like they're in the studio trying to figure it out, but they couldn't get it together. But no, they made it seem like that song was about Minji leaving, like bye friend, which was really shitty of them. Anyway, let me open this up here. Yeah, I just feel like a group like them just deserve more. And also, like, the way that YG played every member of that group to the hilt, the deepest levels of gaslighting were employed when it came to those girls, and I just can't with it. I really can't with it. I think about that all the time. I think about the way that he convinced CL that the things that she was doing as a solo weren't good enough for her to be able to have a US album just yet. But then when it's time to introduce music to the US, he pulls out Hello Bitches as a like, oh, this is just a fun single. This is just, us seeing what the temperature is like. That song is great. And then he fucking elbows her in the fucking kneecap and gives her About to Go Get Lifted. And it's just like, why would you do that? Why would you give her a song like that to follow up a song like Hello Bitches? Even Dr. Pepper, as much as I'm not a fan of every person on Dr. Pepper was one of those things where it's just like, I'd rather have that than Get Lifted. And I know I speak for myself, I don't speak for y'all, but Get Lifted, there were so many things wrong with that video, with that song, that maybe at the time you could argue like it's not really that big a deal. I don't see what's going on. But in the context of 2021, those of us who had problems with that video and that song at that time feel completely justified. You have this Asian woman who is in the hood in New York drinking 40s with a large cast of African American people and dancing hip hop dances and singing about getting high with these black people. And for a fact, number one, CL's got way too much money to be hanging out with poor people. Number two, she primarily lives in like a cross between Europe and Korea. And so who does she even know these people? Really and truly. And then she's also from a culture where drug use is considered completely taboo. So I guess if you go to the States, it's okay. So like there's just so many things. And then like the lyrics, got myself a 40 and I got me a shorty. I've never heard a woman call their romantic partner a shorty unless they're like, well, I don't know if I'm allowed to use the phrase. The phrase I want to say is dyking, but that's a wrong phrase to use for me to use, but that's kind of the phrase that comes to mind. Women who love women, sapphics, have called their partner shorty, but most straight women don't call their male partner shorty. So this song was obviously written from a male point of view, and they didn't even have the decency to like try to adjust the lyrics to the point of view of a woman. Because I don't know about anybody else, but I've never seen CL declare herself anything other than heterosexual. She could be bi, but I just feel like that's never been it. That's never been something that she said. But yeah, it's just like the song was not written with her in mind. The video was just, again, YG continuing to co-opt black hip hop culture, putting no frame of reference or even trying to make it make sense. And yeah, I really have a lot of problems with Lifted. I don't have as many problems with Dr. Pepper. I don't have any problems with Hello Bitches, but Lifted has not aged well, and I said it at the time that I thought it was a shitty song, and I feel like hindsight being 2020, we'd all do best to forget that song exists more than likely. But let's keep going. So I have this. This is the Verbal Gent album. Verbal Gent is somebody who I was really into when I first started collecting K-hip hop. He is more of a second gen rapper if I was going to be describing who he was. Actually, Verbal Jint probably straddles the line between first and second gen, to be honest. And he took a big hiatus. He took a really big hiatus. He quit doing stuff for a really long time. And then out of nowhere, this came out. I haven't heard it yet. I really don't even know when I'm going to get a chance to listen to it because I've been an extremely busy bee for a long time. But I cannot wait to listen to this because I really like Verbal Jint's voice. If you've never listened to a Verbal Jint song before, I recommend looking him up. He has a really pleasing voice. He has a really pleasing look. And yeah, I'm excited about listening to that. Next, we have this, which is the Penamico album. I know that there was an opportunity for people to buy this album on Gmarket signed. I didn't want to. I didn't want to because I wanted to get it just regular. I wasn't going to pay premium or wait any significant amount of time to get a signed copy of this. So this works out just fine for me. But I am so tired of fucking bags. Listen, there's two things that annoy me about this bag. Number one, putting this thing on my shelf. I'm either going to have to open it and fold the bag up and put it inside the album, or I'm going to have to fold up the bag to make it fit on the shelf. So I mean, I think all of us have established we don't like bags. But number two, once you open this album, you'll never, ever be able to claim it as like new status because you have to tear the bag in order to get to the album. So, like, real talk, I don't know if I'm going to open this. I really don't because I don't want to mess up the packaging. And I think it's unfair for us to receive packaging that's like this. It really makes me upset that we get packaging like this. And don't get me wrong, I appreciate the fact that Penamico is even doing physical packaging because goodness knows there's so many other people in K-hip hop that aren't doing anything that's not digital. And if you do get something, you get something like this, a jewel case. But this is unpractical. Straight up, this is impractical. And so I can't deal with this. And I don't even know what the hell's in here. I'm feeling it right now and it feels terrible. Hey Jay, it feels terrible. It feels like there's something weird on this side. I don't know what that is, but you can kind of like see it through the bag. There's like a weird line right there. I don't want to open this. But yeah, please stop doing that. And Psy, you've been in K-pop for so long. Tell your graphics people, nobody likes that. Also, Psy, you really need to get your supply chain together because you run out of albums so very fast and it should not be like that. I get it. You have people on your label that you personally like and maybe you underestimated how popular they are with the rest of the world. But like, you knew Hannah was a huge star when you signed her. Why would you give her such a limited run on her album? Why wouldn't you have made sure there were way more first presses than what there actually was to begin with? Same thing with Crush. Like, he had to have multiple presses of his album. You know better. Psy. So, I'm just saying. I haven't ordered her new album yet, but I'm gonna. I haven't ordered Taemin's album, to be honest with you. It's not that I don't want to. Of course I want to. It's just I don't like ordering Taemin's album by itself. And the last few times I've ordered Taemin's albums, there was more than one version. So like the Never Gonna Dance Again, the big Never Gonna Dance Again, I ordered with a couple more albums. The Never Gonna Dance Again 1 and the Never Gonna Dance Again 2, there were two versions of the album. So I felt like I was buying more stuff. I just really don't want to buy one Taemin album and ship it by itself. So I've been waiting to see what I like that I can order with Taemin's album in order to get it. Because I'm going to get it. Trust me, I'm going to get it. I just don't want to order it by itself. So I'm probably going to order those two together and maybe one other thing because I've been really trying not to buy less than 3 things when I'm ordering K-pop, for the main reason being cost of shipping. Shipping is so expensive. It doesn't actually make economic sense to order less than 3 things if you're going to ship stuff internationally. But number 2, it's a waste of resources to not buy multiple things. First of all, there's so much fuel that's involved in shipping things from overseas to here that if you're going to do it, try to maximize the amount of stuff you're buying. That way, you're not wasting those fuel costs in just shipping one little measly thing. And so, like, if I don't find more stuff that I want to buy, more than likely I'm going to buy Taman's album from Music Plaza or some other US retailer, because I don't want to waste precious fuel if I can. Anyway, and then the last thing I got was this. This is Dawn's album. Dawn is a solo singer who is signed to Cause Entertainment, which is Zico's label, which was purchased by Hybe. And I'm really glad I got this because I was very interested to see what the back of this album has to say, because I wanted to see what label it would say it was on. And it says on here that this is a Cause Entertainment album and it's distributed by Warner Brothers. I'm surprised about that because New East is on Pledis, and Pledis is a part of the Hybe family as well. And New East's latest album was printed through YG Plus. So if you look at the back of the New East album, it says Pledis and it says YG Plus. So I was expecting that this album would say YG Plus on it as well, but no, it says Warner. So I wonder if the reason why it has Warner's imprint on the back is because Cause already had a distribution deal with Warner in place before they were purchased by Hybe. Alondra, it is very small. It is a little bitty book. But out of the three here, this is probably my favorite packaging because it's the packaging that makes the most sense. So we're going to go ahead and actually open this one. So for those of you who don't know Dawn, he's an R&B singer. He was featured on Kang Daniel's not last album, the album before. Not the Yellow album, but the one right before that. Wasn't that Magenta, I believe? Anyway, he has a song on there. It's a good song. And he's featured on Zico's projects before. He's had some stuff on his own on SoundCloud. But I believe this is his first physical album. So I'm really excited to have it. It smells like a fresh book. It smells like glue. Inside are artsy photographs. This one, for instance, it's face obscured. Then this one looks like it's somebody holding a pile of broken glass. That feels dangerous. The mother in me is jumping out and saying, "Don't touch that. You'll bleed." More book stuff. The features on here, he has Illboy, Che, Jane, and then I take off my glasses to see this print because it's in Korean. What is this? Queen Jenny? Is that who that is on number 6? I'm guessing. I'm probably wrong. But yeah, pictures. Quangina. Wow, I was so wrong. So there's that. Yeah, more of these kind of artistic photographs. Nothing to write home about. I'm gonna tell you that now. It's pretty. Ooh, is that a snake? It's a snake. It's a snake, y'all. Can you tell? Ooh, it's a snake. Not a fan of snakes. Like, in some circumstances, I'm okay with snakes. In other circumstances, I'm not. Like, I really like the yellow anaconda that Britney Spears had when she did the Slave for You performance on MTV. But, like, snakes in real life, I don't jive with that. So let me tell you a story about a snake. Well, it's not a story about a snake, but a snake was involved. But it's one of my stories from my time as an employee working for a living that I always remember because I remember thinking, this has got to be one of the nastiest things I've ever seen in my life. I cannot believe this. So I used to work for a business that used to do insurance inspections on buildings, and we used to do insurance inspections on occupied buildings, and it required us to go into these different units that people were either living in or working out of. And so we happened to do one on a residential, so we were doing insurance inspections on a residential facility. So we had to go into each individual's living unit in order to look around to check to see what condition the walls were in, what condition the bathrooms were in, the ceiling, if we noticed like any places where there were wet spots, if we noticed any soft spots on the floor, that kind of thing, to make sure that the building was like in good condition and we didn't identify any insurance threats while we were in the unit. And there were times when we would identify problems. They had one unit where the floor, I don't know what the fuck happened, but we walked on that floor and it was a second floor unit. So there was a level right below it, and the floor dipped as you walked, which is not the feeling you want when you're on the second floor. So we had to get that looked at to try to figure out what the hell happened, that this floor is soggy. That's not what you want to feel. Then we had another unit where these people had a toilet that had broken, and the toilet just ran all the time. And what they would do is that they would just let it run. And what had happened is that there's bolts on in America, the toilets have these tanks in the back. And the bolts, because it kept running, the bolts had rusted. And so the toilet tank was just leaking through the bolts that kept the tank on top of the seat. And it had worn out all of the tile that was around the base of the toilet. It was just a moldy, gross mess. And these people wouldn't even call maintenance to get it fixed. When they could have easily had this fixed when they first noticed the problem by calling maintenance, they just let it run because they were keeping nasty house and they didn't want the maintenance person to be in there. So that was one of them. But the grossest thing I ever saw, these people had a snake living in their unit. And they had the snake in a terrarium. And the terrarium was not a bad terrarium. It was cute. It had like the heat lamps and everything. That was the only well-kept part of their entire apartment. It came with a postcard. The rest of their apartment was one of the filthiest apartments I'd ever seen in my entire life. It went, oh, there's 2 postcards. Did not anticipate that. They were on different pages. All right. Anyway, this apartment, every sink, like you know how you have like a sink that's separated in 2? Every sink was filled with dirty dishes. The countertops were filled with dirty plates and bowls. The stove had a dirty pot or pan on every single burner. The floor of the kitchen was covered in paper sacks, plastic bags. Like somebody was like would buy groceries, pull the groceries out and just throw the bag on the floor. The dining room was covered in shit. Like not like poop, but like literally like the walls were lined up with like clothes and video games and whatever the fuck they happened to have. They just had it all piled up against the walls, which was weird. Because there was a lot of stuff on the floor, but they had piles up against the walls, which is bizarre. So I go into the bathroom. The bathroom's a fucking mess. It's a man and a woman who live together. There's menstrual pads all over the floor, which I mean, there's nothing wrong with menses, but also menses are the expulsion of blood and tissue from your system. And to have that just laid out after you've had your menses for a week, 2 weeks, whatever, there easily had to be, I would say, close to 50 pads on the floor. That's not a typical amount for 1 week of menses. So yeah, there were old, bloody, used pads on the floor. Disgusting. The worst was walking into their bedroom. And I know for some of you, the menses, the pads were probably the worst. The worst was walking into the bedroom and they had a mattress on the floor and they had an ascending pile of used tissues. Like it started out like a couple of tissues in height and it moved up to at least 1.5 foot pile of used tissues. Like they had a tissue mountain on the edge of their dirty mattress. And I was thinking to myself, there's no fucking way people live here like this with a fucking snake. And the snake, like I said, the snake's terrarium was so cute and so nice. And like I said, it wasn't dirty or dingy. He had the little heat lamp on. Like, it was obvious they were taking really good care of this snake, but they were not taking good care of the human beings who live there. And I just, I could not imagine two people living like that. And these weren't even like married people. This was like a boyfriend girlfriend type of situation. I'm just like, this is bizarre. This is, one of y'all needs to snap out of this. Y'all can't support each other living like this. One of y'all's got to snap out of this. But yeah, wow. Also, just to be clear, I don't want to say that the condition of this apartment being the way it is me shaming people with mental health issues, because I totally understand that when you're going through a mental health crisis, sometimes you do not have the energy or wherewithal to be able to clean. And if that's the case, I get it. But also, call for help, guys. Like, if you find yourself to where like you're living in a condition that actually can be hazardous to your health, call for help. There are people that you can pay off Craigslist if you live in the United States that will clean your house for you. They will show up with trash bags and a shovel and they will get that shit done for you. But don't live like that, because at the end of the day, you're compromising your own health living like that. Living amongst, bacteria collecting used maxi pads, bacteria collecting used tissues, bacteria collecting unclean dishes. That's how people get all kinds of bacterial infections. That's how people get gangrenous limbs, is because they're living in unclean environments, and then they get like a little scratch on their body or something, and that thing gets infected, and all of a sudden you're in trouble and somebody's talking about it's time to cut off a foot or an arm. So yeah, if you're feeling like for some reason you just can't do it, I get it. Trust me, I get it, because I have those moments myself. Call for help. Call for help if you can, because you're not doing yourself any favors by trying to hide it. Instead, you're just making it worse for yourself, because especially like if your mind's in recovery, it's hard to recover your mind and try to get back on track when your surroundings keep reminding you of how depressed you have been. So, yeah, just take care of yourself. You deserve to live nicely. You deserve nice things. Don't let yourself live in a bad situation if you can help it. Some people actually just can't help it. Did you guys ever watch that show Hoarders that used to come on A&E? I think it comes, I don't know what channel it comes on now, but I used to watch Hoarders, and I used to always feel really bad for the hoarders who had children. Like, a lot of times if they had adult children, the adult children didn't live in the house anymore. But there were a couple of times where people did have adult children living in the house. But there were a few episodes where people had kids living in the house, like 8 years old, 9 years old, like kids living in the house. And these kids would live in houses where there was no fresh food in the house. Like, the refrigerator was full of old, moldy, shitty food, and there were some pantry items, but there were fucking roaches everywhere, so the pantry items were infested with roaches. And so they had nothing fresh to eat. They had no clean food to eat. And they would go to school stinking because their house would be covered in like smelly diapers, or their house would be covered in dirty ass clothes that were just sitting and festering. And they'd have multiple animals in the house, and the animals are shitting and pissing everywhere, and the animals are getting covered in this avalanches of boxes and shit that are everywhere, and the animals would die because they'd get crushed under the weight of these hoards that people had in their homes. And before you knew it, like, it was just a fucking disaster scene. And to be a kid when you're already so vulnerable because the world is trying to teach you who you are, and what you think about yourself is slowly being eroded by the opinions that people have about you, to then come from a home where you can't ever have any friends over, and you're always self-conscious about the way you smell, the way you look, whether or not you got a roach hiding in your shoe, because that's how things are at home. That's no way for a kid to live. That's no way for a kid to live. And so that's why it's just like, I have a hard time I combat the idea of, I have sympathy because I know that people who have hoarding tendencies, it is emblematic of a lot of other severe mental health issues that they're dealing with. It's a symptom. It's not the source. But for these children, that hoard becomes the source of problems for them later on. And I really hate that for them. I think it's a really horrible position to put a kid in. And while I'm all for the advocacy of mental health for all people involved, if I have to choose between the welfare of a parent or a child, I'm always going to choose the welfare of the child, because the child didn't make a choice. They're just there. But yeah, I've seen some ones. There was one I saw on I think I saw a clip of it on YouTube, and it just thoroughly disgusted me. It was this older lady, and she had a son who, he might have been on the autism spectrum, but she was having some troubles, and he felt like he couldn't leave his mother alone. So that's why he was living with her as an adult. But they had roaches. And when I say they had roaches, baby, they had roaches. They had the kind of roaches that don't scatter when you turn the lights on, because there's no fucking where to go. That's the kind of roaches they had. And they were eating a meal, and he was like, I have to eat fast before the roaches find out I have food. And you could see the roaches crawling up on the plate while they were eating, and him batting the roaches away while he's eating. Listen, I've been to homes where people have had roaches before. Most roaches are shy because they know if they're seen, they will be killed. These roaches were not shy. Even with like the cameras from the television crew being there and the lights being on in the living room, them roaches was like, I'm still going to eat whatever the fuck you are eating. That, it was aggressive. And I just, man, there before the grace of God. But anyway, I'm just going to open this Verbal Gent one real quick. I'm sure there's not going to be much to show you. Just opening it. Oh, more messy pictures. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I'm just saying more messy pictures. So he's got a wall with all of his album covers there. That's really cute. I like that. And then CD there. And then a nice unfocused picture, because don't we love unfocused photography? That's our fave. It's not like we actually want to see our favorites or anything. And then it's him kind of sitting and kind of, I guess, contemplating his previous discography. I imagine it is a trip to be an artist as you get older, and thinking about like who you were when you were younger, the things that you prioritized in your youth versus like what you would choose to sing about now, the things that maybe you took for granted when you were younger. And that's it. It's short. That now you wish that you had taken more time to appreciate, but you being young, you didn't think that time would run out. Like, it's a trip getting older. You guys are still very, very young. Well, most of you are very young, but I'm a little bit older than you guys. Menopause is calling my name. And I think so much about how absolutely cute I was when I was younger. I know. You're like, you narcissist. I've talked to you about my narcissistic tendencies. You already know what it is. You know what time it is. Don't play. But I remember being younger and thinking, oh, but if only I had better skin. Oh, but if only I was smaller. Oh, if only I had fuller hair. If only I had so many if onlys in my mind when I was younger. And I look back at pictures of myself when I was younger. I'm like, who is this hot girl? What's her name? What's she doing? And that was me. That was totally me. And I missed out on so many opportunities thinking that I wasn't cute enough. I wasn't thin enough. I wasn't whatever the fuck I thought I was supposed to be in order to be worthy of things. I kept telling myself, once I change me, I will be worthy of things. And I just totally let so many years get wasted telling myself I wasn't worthy. Let's talk for a minute. So this tattoo I have here, I realize that there's a lot of people who do not find this tattoo attractive, my daughter being one of them. And it's really hard to show it on camera without it looking completely distorted, but when I look at it myself, it looks just fine. Anyway, this tattoo is only attractive to me. But that's the only person that it's got to be attractive for. And this tattoo is in a location that if you had asked me 10 years ago, would I ever get a tattoo where anybody could see it? I'd be like, no, absolutely not. That's why the only tattoo I had 10 years ago was on my ankle. But I kept telling myself, one day I will get this. One day I will do that. And, COVID hit. And all of a sudden it's like, one day is today. Fuck what you heard. One day is today. I'm doing it now. I keep putting it off thinking you don't need to do that right now because if you do that, you're going to ruin your chances of A, B, and C, or you should wait until you have A, B, and C, or you should pick a different location, one that people can't see. But the thing is, putting a tattoo in a place that people can't see puts the tattoo in a place that I can't see. And I'm not getting my tattoos for other people. I'm not getting my tattoos for the insides of my clothes. I'm getting my tattoos for me. I'm getting my tattoos because it's shit I want to look at. It's the way I want to be seen. It's the way I want to appear. And so that's why I got this ugly ass tattoo in the middle of my wrist. Because I love it. It makes me feel happy. I love looking at it. It brings joy to my life. And I'm tired of waiting for things to be under the right conditions to be able to enjoy them. And I hope that the rest of y'all are feeling that too. Waiting for the right conditions to finally enjoy your life is just not fucking worth it. It really is not. Do it now because you don't know when you're not going to have no more time to do it. A lot of things could happen. A lot of things could happen. But yeah. Let's get away from the self-help talk a little bit because I know I give you guys a whole bunch of that. Let's talk about something that I haven't talked about in a minute. Let's talk about Kingdom. Okay, Kingdom. This last week on Kingdom, they showed us 4 performances, which means that next week, I guess we're only going to see one performance, the vocal line performances. So they split up the groups. And I should not be like this. If you watch my Instagram live, you'll know what I mean when I say I should not be like this. I had really high hopes for Kingdom. Much like Esther G, Kingdom got boring really quick. I should not be like this, but I have been extremely critical of iKON during this Kingdom run. And I feel justified in being critical of them, even though I know I should not be critical of them. But let me tell you why I feel justified in my criticism. I feel justified in my criticism of iKON on Kingdom because iKON came into that competition in optimal condition. Like, they had the Cinderella story that should have carried. They came into that competition in the same position that AOA came into Queendom with, basically. They had to deal with, losing a very prominent member. They had to deal with the public thinking that maybe they were a wash. They had super big hits in their catalog. So they had a lot to work with going into Kingdom. And because of that, I really and truly expected them to pull an AOA. I thought they were going to just blow us away on Kingdom and we're like, oh, wow, we all want to listen to iKON again. Man, it's been a minute. And oh my gosh, why did we ever stop listening to them? They're so good. And even without BI, they still have the magic and we need to be paying attention. And nope. Just nope. Their first performance on Kingdom was so sloppy and just, we don't give a shit. We're giving you the same performance we give when we're in the middle of the second leg of our world tour. Like, it was one of those kind of performances. And nobody's been on tour recently because of fucking COVID. So everyone should be super refreshed and to go for Kingdom. And what does iKON give us? Again, that half-assed performance. And I'm like, okay, all right. Well, you know what? They're just rusty because YG doesn't let people go on television, so they probably don't know what they're supposed to do when they get on TV. So this is not their fault at all. This is just something that happens because YG doesn't let them perform enough. The next week is when they did Love Scenario. And I'm like, okay, This is their biggest hit. I know they're going to knock it out the fucking park. They're going to do really great on this. Can't wait to watch. The performance was so uninspired. It wasn't a terrible performance. It was just one of those performances that felt like there wasn't a ton of creativity put into it. It felt like it was just the kind of performance you would do if you were doing a comeback. It wasn't a performance that felt like it was specially crafted for this stage. And listening to iKON talk about the stage and how they were doing it and acting like they had made this big creative leap, and then seeing what they put forth, it was just like, are you kidding? Do y'all really think you did something with this? And it was so incredibly stunning to see how little thought and how little money was put into their stage and everything else, considering that in that same round where iKON did Love Scenario, their biggest hit, arguably the biggest hit that anyone on that entire stage has had, you then have ATEEZ, who Korea could give a fuck about, decide to give us a full-on pirate opera. And it just don't make no sense that ATEEZ is bringing out the fucking Kraken and iKON is doing Singing in the Rain. It doesn't make any sense. And then they do the next week where they get an ATEEZ song and they just tear it apart and do what they want to with it, but they don't have something that is exciting. They use an Inception concept. And I'm thinking, okay, cool, Inception, so we're gonna have, time bending and all these different cool graphics maybe because of Inception. And they had one wall that slid, and they had a ramp that flipped up to look like the street was bending, but it bent at a complete sharp angle, so it didn't give you the illusion of Inception. And it's just like, what the fuck are you doing? So then we get to this week. And this week, we have iKON doing, what they did is they broke the teams up. That's Stephanie hovering over me. They broke the teams up. Sorry, Stevie. I keep calling you Stephanie. I'm trying very hard, you guys. It's not a dead name, but it's a preference. And I need to start focusing on the
name.
Right. So I'm not dead naming her. I'm just preference-wise. Anywho's, so they do this thing where they break the teams up. So instead of each group performing their own song, they did like vocal unit versus vocal unit, rap unit versus rap unit, dance unit versus dance unit. And they took three groups and put them on one team, and then took the other three groups and put them on another team. And then each group would pull out their designated best whoever to be a part of the rap line. So like their best rapper would go on the rap line, their best dancer would go on the dance line, so on and so forth. Well, Bobby, of course, is chosen to be the rapper for the rap line for iKON, and he gets to work with a rapper from the rap line for the boys and a rapper for the rap line for SF9. So it's Huyoung and Sunwoo that are paired up with Bobby. And of course, Sunwoo and Huyoung are fucking starstruck, like mouths wide open, the just reflections in their face, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm in the same with Bobby.
Does anyone remember that movie from Disney Channel called Starstruck, where this girl meets a celebrity and like they sort of like fall in love, but then he's like, oh, I'm a celebrity, but she's like, oh, but you're different because you're famous. But then like they get over it and then they fall in love. Do y'all remember Starstruck? It has
Get out of here! Get out of here!
And it had that song that was like, Starstruck, alright.
There are 4 people that say yes, they remember, but get out of here! Anyway, as I was saying, so you've got Sunwoo and Huyoung who are working with Bobby. I did not know that both Sunwoo and Huyoung were on High School Rapper because I didn't watch that show, but that's cool that they were. Anyway, they're working with Bobby. Bobby, out of his mouth, when they're putting together their song, tells them, don't worry about winning. Let's just get up there and have fun. Yo, Bobby, the reason why Icon can't do well on their performances is because y'all are showing up with that I don't give a fuck attitude. You know, Sunwoo wants to win. The boys really want to win. SF9 would love to win. They actually have stakes in the game. And you're giving them your laissez-faire attitude. And of course, fucking Sunwoo's got his mouth wide open and he's not about to tell Bobby, hey, I don't think that we should do that. I think we should actually focus on winning. And Huyoung is just fucking scared to death, shy as shit. And like, can I buy you tennis shoes? Can I hold your shirt and can I iron it for you, sir? Like, he's afraid to say fucking anything. And it's just like, you know, out of everyone here, you have the most influence on these children, even though y'all are not super far apart in age. Why wouldn't you, at least for their sake, try to do better? Since you obviously don't want to do better for your own group, why wouldn't you at least do better for some people who actually idolize you and want to perform well in order to be able to impress you and make themselves feel like they got something out of the experience besides just fucking dick worshiping? And no, instead they had a performance that came across super messy, and they had a performance where they made sure that at the chorus, Bobby was the center of attention. So like each guy got their own verse, but every chorus it was all about Bobby. And again, because they're fucking dick riding and stuff, hey Davis, good to see you. Because they're fucking dick riding Bobby, they don't even tell him that his fucking hair extensions look a goddamn mess. He's got like braided pink and blonde hair, and it's so gross. It was so gross. And it just makes me so frustrated because they didn't try to have like a concept for the clothes, even the bare minimum things that they should have done for their performance. Usually a performance has a theme, and they were told that the theme was like paint and colors. So they're keeping to the theme was to wear clothes that look like they might have been tie-dyed or color splattered, and then have people throw paint on them at the end of the performance. But they're all wearing completely different outfits. So you've got Huyoung, who looks like a CEO who cosplays as a rapper on the weekend. You've got Sunwoo wearing, you know, a cute enough outfit, but this kind of awkward bandana look. And then you've got Bobby, who's wearing like his Rastafarian gear with these weird hair extensions. They don't look like a group. They do not look like a group. And Bobby's outfit more than anything screams, I'm the center of attention. So they give their performance, and the rap's not bad, but it's just like, why didn't you try? Well, the other half of the rap battle is Sriracha from Stray Kids, it's Minhyuk from BTOB, and it's Hongjung from ATEEZ. And they totally get the assignment. They totally understood what they were being asked to do. They have matching all white outfits. Even though everybody kind of has their own style in their white outfit, they're still at least all white. They make sure that no one is the star of the performance, so everybody gets to shine. Everybody has a good part. And it just made it to where it felt like they were actually working together. And them calling themselves Five Baracho was like really cute. But it's just like, you had a shot, Icon. You had a shot. And this is what the fuck you choose to do with your shot? Get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here with that. Then you have the dance team. And the dance team is just ridiculous. The dance team, there's only 3 dancers on the dance team for the Icon SF9 boys team. The boys has fucking 11 million members, but they only put one person forward to be a part of the dance team.
Wait, did you say 11 million?
Yes, I sure did. Just unbelievable, fake sounding numbers of people. So you've got that going on with the dance team. Then you turn around with SF9. SF9 doesn't have no whole bunch of people, but they send one person to be on the dance. So there's
Does
3 members.
SF9 have 9 members?
I believe so. I can't confirm because I don't follow them, but I believe
Does
so.
SF9 means, well, no, that I can't say my full name on the gram, but does it mean my name and 9?
No.
I think it does.
Why do you constantly warn me about showing my identity on the internet, but you constantly try to give clues?
Well,
Anyway.
no one's gonna know my real name from just my initials.
You
my
already.
last name
you
could
don't-
be Ferda.
You know what? I'm not even going to say anything, but we'll talk after this is over about the other things you've done to try to give away all of our identities on the internet. Anyway.
Hey, if anyone...
I am talking about something. Quit trying to take away from my conversation.
I'm just saying, if they are sneaking up on us, then just come
Okay.
and find
So anyway, the dance team. The dance team. So they do this dance, and I actually really like their performance. But prior to them performing, these 3 guys are sitting in a room looking at each other like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing here. I don't know who these people are. I don't know what this show is. I'm afraid to talk to anybody. Now, the member of Icon, who is a part of this dance team, I have to give him credit. Throughout the show, he seems like he has been the most interested person in trying to actually win this competition. But when it comes time to introduce himself to 2 new people who are intimidated to talk to him because Icon is this huge group, he shows up decked out in Chanel just to let them know who's got the money in the room, which is crazy to me because I'm pretty sure you probably borrowed that jacket from the YG costume department. But also because it's like, how are you going to establish a friendship, an environment of collaboration when you walk in the room showing off your money first, and then the next thing you say is, let's get everybody's age so we can know how to address each other? Now, granted, in Korea, that's not an atypical question. That's something that everybody asks. But he says it so gleefully, like, I bet I'm older than all y'all. Y'all can call me young. And it's just like, do something to break the ice. Do something to make these guys feel like they actually are allowed to share opinions with you. They're actually allowed to talk to you. They're actually allowed to help craft a performance with you. Now, the performance that they had, personally, I really liked their performance quite a bit. I thought it was beautiful. It reminded me, the theme was to do like a very Korean-oriented performance. And it reminded me of when Oh My Girl did their Korean-inspired performance of the song by Lovelyz on the Queendom stage. So I really like their performance. But then you have the dance team for BTOB, Stray Kids, and ATEEZ. ATEEZ sends like 5 guys there. Stray Kids has 15 guys. And then, of course, BTOB is stuck with sending Peniel. And their performance is all over the place. It's crazy. It wasn't one of my favorite performances, but the difference between the two is that the entire time that those 3 were collaborating together, Stray Kids, ATEEZ, BTOB, they were legitimately having fun. They were legitimately trying to learn from each other. They were legitimately trying to have a group, and they were getting something else out of this experience. Whereas I kind of like, we just kind of want to be here so that our Hubeis can like build us up and make us feel important. And I think that's a really shitty way to approach this competition. I don't know what the vocal line section is going to be like. I hope that the vocal line competition will be good, but Bobby's rap team lost in their head-to-head competition. I'm not surprised. The dance team, it depends on what the judges feel. It really does, but it seems like they're kind of leaning towards the ATEEZ, Stray Kids, BTOB side. But yeah, it's just like, get your fucking heads out of your asses, Icon. Like, seriously, try a little bit more to act like you like this. Because BTOB is Icon's senior group. And BTOB is thrilled to death to be there. They are so fucking happy. Like, every time, they're just like, I can't wait till next week. I can't wait for us to work on things. I can't wait for us to do all kinds of this, that, the other. I can't wait to work with whoever. I can't wait to try this new song. Like the guys from B2B, you would think they were rookie trainees, the way they are so excited to be a part of this show. And I just don't understand why them, after so many years and going through the hellhole that was second gen K-pop, would be so excited to be there. And then iKON, who's already from one of the most kind of status inducing labels in Korea, is just like, we're here out of charity. Like, let's not forget, people were questioning whether or not y'all can even produce hits when your main songwriter and leader left the group. Maybe you actually do have something to fucking lose here. Try. Just try. Even SF9, who can barely find time to work together because all of them have 1,000 jobs, even they are trying their hardest and they actually care about their rankings. When iKON does bad in their rankings, they're like, that's surprising. And they fucking knock it off. Like, try. Just try. And I'm not even a super competitive person, but please, just try. Just try. You know, ATEEZ is trying super duper hard. Stray Kids are trying super duper hard. B2B is actually trying really hard to get outside of their comfort zone, and they've done a very good job of it. SF9, even though they can hardly get together, they're trying really hard. The boys, they're heartbroken because they're trying really hard and they're not seeing results because they're up against people who have huge global fandoms. But iKON just could give a fuck, and it makes Kingdom very frustrating to watch. Watching iKON just kind of fucking lays their way through the entire competition. So that's my rant on Kingdom. I have been watching. I really legitimately have been watching, but it has been frustrating because iKON is just bringing down the mood at every fucking turn.
Love you till kingdom come.
Okay, so let's talk about the elephant in the chat room. GFriend decided to terminate their contracts. Are we surprised that they decided not to re-sign with Source Music? And that begs the question, if GFriend is not on Source Music, what the hell does the label have to offer to HYBE? Is it HYBE, HYBE, Big Hit? What, you know what I'm talking about, right? Because I literally feel like they were the only thing that Source Music had to offer when they were purchased by Big Hit. And so at this point, what? I didn't say disbanding. From what everyone's putting in the chat, they're saying that they terminated their contracts. But if they're disbanding, they're disbanding. I mean, let's not act like GFriend didn't have a good run. They did have a really good run. Like, there's a video on my channel. It should still be public. But there's a video on my channel where I bought, I want to say it's 2 or 3 girl group debut albums. And when I bought these albums, I made predictions about which groups I thought were going to be successful and which groups I thought were not going to be successful. And that video, I had GFriend, I had Oh My Girl, and I had CLC. And I made predictions at that time of which groups I liked the best, which groups I thought were going to go the furthest. I remember telling everybody I thought that Oh My Girl was one that you needed to watch out for because their debut was really, really good, really, really catchy, and I thought that they had a lot going on for them. So I really liked them. I remember complaining about CLC because I remember thinking that their single was good, but the packaging was shitty and that their company needed to do better, because that's not the way to go. And I remember talking about GFriend and saying, everyone is shitting on GFriend because they sound so much like Girls' Generation when they first debuted, but that the album itself was actually really good and that I was really excited about GFriend because I thought they were going to do well. And that was before Navalera and Me Gustas 2 had come out. It was literally their debut. It was Glass Bead. And it's been interesting over the years to see how those girls have turned out. First of all, GFriend, out of all the groups, I feel like GFriend sound-wise has both changed the most and stayed the same the most, because I feel like a lot of the dynamics with GFriend is really good, but at the same time, I feel like GFriend kept a lot of their signature sounds still present in their music. And then with Oh My Girl, those girls are concept queens. I could not have predicted it at that moment, but as soon as Closer came out, I should have known then. Them girls, give them a concept and watch them fly. Give them a concept and watch them fucking fly. They always understand the assignment. And then CLC, just like back then when I said I thought that album packaging was bad and that Cube needed to get it together, where are we now? Cube still needs to fucking get it together. So yeah, I heard Dun Dun Dance. I thought Dun Dun Dance was cute. I would have to listen to it a couple more times, but I thought it was cute. But yeah, it's just there's certain things that you can tell over the years how they're gonna go, and it's made it to where like I sometimes think that the reason I'm not interested in girl groups now is because I watched how that whole thing unfolded, and I'm like, yeah, it's easy to call. I didn't see them for what they were at the time, but looking back, OMG has a stellar. Listen, let's talk about it. Let's talk about the fact that OMG came out the gate with so many good songs. Their first song was Cupid. Hey, Cupid just shot my heart. Uh-huh. That was a great song. It was very High School Musical. And then they had Closer, which had a great concept, a great song. I'm getting closer, Mom. That was a great song. Then they follow it up with Liar fucking Liar. What a great liar, liar, liar. Perfect. I mean, they just back to back with Oh My Girl. And then followed up the repackage with Windy Day. Windy Day, yeah. They could do no wrong. As far as I'm concerned, Oh My Girl cemented their spot with their first songs. Even if they had highs and lows throughout their discography, Oh My Girl consistently kept that same like concept queen thing going, and I love them. And also, let's talk a little bit about the bitch that is Benny. Benny is a bad bitch. I remember when they debuted and Benny specifically standing out to me and me thinking, this girl, there's something here. Like, she's the baby and she kind of has like a low-key kind of I'm in the background look, but at the same time, I feel like there's a queen in there. I feel like there's a queen in there that's going to emerge one day, and I can't wait to see what she's going to do. Dun Dun Dance, while it's not one of my favorite things ever, Benny has grown so much as a vocalist, and she sounds so good. And it's just fascinating how much that little girl has grown, because she was a literal teenager when they debuted. She was a little girl practically. And to see her become who she is now, and see how confident she is as a woman now, and to see how much her talent has developed, I could not be more proud of her than if she was one of my own. I really, really respect her a lot. And so I'm very proud of them. They make me proud because I saw it in the beginning and I still see it today. But she did. But yeah, I think about that a lot. I think about how, like, you know, they had a minute where it's touch and go, and then they just fucking blew it out the park. And I'm very, very proud of them, especially because they're not from one of the big labels. They really aren't. So it's really nice to see that, like, they've managed to hang on all this time, and they've managed to succeed in an environment where nugu groups don't succeed. They've done it. They have done it. Whereas GFriend started with everything in their fucking favor. Like, they came out the gate looking like Baby SNSD. They had a song that sounded like Baby SNSD. Then they come out with Me Gustas Too, which people are already liking because people underestimate the fact that Korea wants songs that children can love and that uncle fans can adore and that sound like summertime and spring. So they come out with Me Gustas Too, which is just like cheery and upbeat and everything else. And then they are blessed with the thing that literally can make a group a viral video. Just like Honey's Up and Down performance gave EXID their second wind. That video of them girls slipping and falling on that stage in the rain to Me Gustas Too, GFriend never had to worry about their legacy after that. They never had to worry about it. And then they follow Me Gustas Too up with Rough, which again, one of their best songs ever. Ever. And it's just like at that point we were all like, okay, well G-Friend is the one. G-Friend is the one. Then Fingertips. And after Fingertips, I never cared about G-Friend. Now don't get me wrong, I think Walpurgis Night was good. I thought that their last couple of comebacks were actually not bad at all. But the thing is, G-Friend made a critical error, or at least their label did. G-Friend had firmly established themselves as filling in that girls' generation gap, and then their label decided to age them up too fast. And you can't do that. Like Navalera tried to keep them still on their girl type thing, and I actually have an extra copy of the LOL album somewhere around here for sale. But when Fingertip came out, it was like the sound was very similar, in my opinion, to a lot of stuff they had done. It was a very retro sound, but the styling was not what they had been doing. And it was like watching them go through puberty. And actually, when I think about it, they did what Twice is doing now, but they did it too fast. Like Twice is going through like kind of their growing phase, but they waited a little bit to get into that growing pains phase. And now they can do stuff like I Can't Stop Me. And even if Korea doesn't embrace it, it's okay because they've cemented their legacy so much that they're not going to flop. But G-Friend hadn't really gotten to that point yet, and they were still kind of who they were. And they needed to kind of follow SNSD in that way. Like wait until the public is like, we'll buy anything you put out, and then put out your Run Devil Run. And they just jumped the gun. And ever since then, I feel like G-Friend has been a hit or miss. It's been an uneven trajectory for them, which is unfortunate because they have very talented vocals. And one of the things that I think people really respected the most about G-Friend and was a huge part of their legacy is that G-Friend had the dance. Like, I remember that was the main thing everyone needs to talk about when G-Friend debuted is like, we've never seen girls dance this hard. These girls dance like boys. And that was something that even though they had this cute concept, they still were turning it out on stage. And so they didn't have to age themselves up really fast because even though they did have that Uncle Fan component and that, you know, we're portraying younger girls component, they were dancing like athletes. And so a lot of people still loved G-Friend, even if they weren't into cutie concepts, people like me, because they loved seeing them dance. Because they danced like they were fucking star Olympic athletes. And I think their company really lost sight of what the charm was. And I don't think that this merger with Big Hit really did anything for them because their company was already lost. And this is something that I think a lot of people haven't really talked about that much. And I talked about it on my Instagram live that I did with Jade. HYBE has been doing some really incredible things in terms of being able to utilize the capital that is BTS. Like they took BTS from something that was slowly growing to something that became super viral, and they utilized every bit of those opportunities into something that could make money. They said, oh, so you guys think that BTS is cute. Would you like to buy cute dolls and pins and mouse pads and t-shirts and concert tickets? And they have marketed BTS to the point of virtual exhaustion for the fans. And they've used that money and they've turned around and they've made investment. And what they've decided to do is they've made investment in the thing that brought them their funds in the first place, music. They bought Pledis, they bought Source, they bought YG Plus, not YG Plus, and they recently bought Scooter Braun's management company. So like they're spending major coins. Plus you have their big investments in Korean media. At this point, they're about to create a monopoly in K-pop. If people haven't been talking about it, they really need to, because they're going to buy YG eventually. That's coming. And once they buy YG, it'll be a matter of time before they make that offer to JYP. The only reason why they haven't made the offer to JYP yet is because they're waiting for JYP to invite them to the table. Because their CEO and JYP are really, really good friends. And so he kind of gave a boost to the record label Big Hit before Big Hit became what they became. Because if you don't recall, Big Hit had a lot of collaborations with JYP, members of 2AM, so on and so forth, members of BTS being in Jokwon's video. Like, there was a really close connection there. And so they don't want to buy JYP outright. They want to make it seem like JYP is ready to retire, and he decided that the best place for his label to be was with Big Hit. That's the way that sale is going to go down. That's really and truly how it's going to be. But that day's coming. But before they buy JYP, they're going to buy YG. And the reason why they're going to get YG before they get JYP is because JYP is going to wait a few more years. Like, he has to prove to himself that he can either make Stray Kids work, or he's got to prove that ITZY can work. Not that they've been unsuccessful, but he wants Korea to love them the way that they love Twice. So JYP wants to have like one more big hit. And one more big hit before he sells to Big Hit. Whereas YG, if things don't go well for YG in court, they will sell to Big Hit just to wash their fucking hands of it. That's what they'll do. If things don't go YG's way in court, then YG will be sold to Big Hit. Because that's what the whole buying YG Plus was about. It was about them letting YG know this is an option. We've got the funding. You see, we got it. This is an option. And so if things go bad in court for Sungri, if things go bad in court for Papa YG, if things go bad in court for YG's brother and their whole tax evasion situation, it won't be long before they'll be up for sale. And of course, Hybe, Big Hit, would be a fool not to buy YG, because there's only really, you can be mad at me if you want to, there's really only one other group in K-pop that can compete internationally with BTS, and that group is Blackpink. So again, why wouldn't they buy the most marketable K-pop group outside of BTS? Why wouldn't they? It'll happen. It will happen. If YG lets them, it'll happen. So it's really depending on what happens in court. Because if YG gets found innocent in court, if he escapes these tax evasion and gambling charges, he's coming back to head YG. That's going to happen for sure. If he gets out of all of these charges scot-free, no time, no nothing, he's coming back to the boardroom at YG. And then Blackpink will be really and truly fucked, because he's not going to be nice when he comes back. He's going to put them on the back burner. He's going to prop up his boy faves, and it's not going to be a good time. So I totally see that coming. But JYP, Big Hit's only going to get JYP if JYP offers the label to them, because he's ready to just focus on himself as an entertainer, and he's done with being a CEO. As it is, he's almost there, because JYP is more of a figurehead now. You know, he's kind of like on the board, but he's not really the day-to-day guy that he used to be back during 2 p.m. Missy and all that stuff. So it's close. It's coming. It's coming. But tangent aside, even though they have the money to make these huge acquisitions, they haven't invested any time in actually trying to come through with a game plan for these acquisitions. And this is the thing. It's a mistake that people make when they expand too fast. Yes, you've been very successful in a particular avenue, but you have to consider what the environment was for that success, what the market was like for that success, all the things that led to you being able to strike gold there. And then you need to look at the assets you're acquiring and ask yourself, do the same market environment, do these same market conditions exist for my new acquisition? Or are the market conditions different? Because if they are different, I have to come up with a plan that suits the market conditions for my acquisition. I know my hair looks so greasy on camera. I'm so sorry. Anyway, so with GFriend, for instance, they should have looked at Source Music and said, okay, Source Music, GFriend obviously is the diamond in your crown. What can we do for GFriend to ensure that we're supporting them in the way that they need, that we're promoting them in the way that they need, that we're providing them with something that they haven't had previously, that we're capitalizing on something that has maybe gone overlooked, or maybe we're really sticking them in their niche, in their genre, and making them do what they're best at so that they can catch up on the popularity. Like, when you look at the way that Roland has come back and the way that Korea has embraced kind of these like super girly concepts and the super fun, lighthearted thing, GFriend could totally be doing that. Even though the girls are a little bit older now than they were when they debuted, they could still totally do that. That could have been their niche if that was something that HYBE's marketing team had focused on for GFriend. But instead, it was just like, it almost feels like these acquisitions are more about Bang PD gifting funds to these CEO friends of his, but not really caring about what he actually purchased. Same thing with Pledis. 17 has sold a ton of albums since they've been with HYBE, but the promotion has been scant at best. They have really not invested any time in 17 as a group. And what's even more shocking to me is that they haven't invested more time in the production department for 17, because 17 is an in-house production. And the fact that they've been as successful as they have been, and they've been forced to make the majority of their stuff by themselves, it stands to reason that HYBE would put a ton of money behind Woozi and the other producers and songwriters of the group to develop those skills, put them in contact with people who can help heighten them, develop them, grow them, and then use them as not only writers for 17, but have them start writing for other groups that are under the HYBE umbrella. It would make sense to do that. It would, especially because they have longer hiatuses now than they've had in the past. Why don't you use that time for artist development? That makes sense. Same thing with New East. New East, the breaks that they've been taking are unbelievably long. Unbelievably long. And they should be spending that time trying to ask New East, what do you want to do besides singing? Is it going to be... Do you want to be trainers? Do you want to make your own group? Do you want to get into acting? Do you want to do variety? They should be developing them more. We already know that Rin at least has been into modeling in the past. Like, he has other stuff he wants to do. So why aren't they spending time trying to develop that for them and help them to transition out of being idols? Because they are reaching kind of the end of their mature idol road. And then you look at what's been going on with like Big Hit itself in terms of ENHYPEN and TXT. And it's like they debut these groups using the actual social capital that they already have. And then they just fucking throw them out there, see what happens. And then they say, well, we'll catch you on the next comeback. They don't do the same developmental things that they did for BTS. But that's because at the time, BTS was all they had. But now they have so many things and they feel like, well, we're Big Hit. So TXT is not going to flop because we're Big Hit. And ENHYPEN's not going to flop because we're Big Hit. And it's just like, that's not enough. That's not enough. And it's actually kind of ironic to me that they bought Scooter Braun's management company. Because I think of Demi Lovato being signed to Scooter Braun. And how Scooter Braun is this, super famous manager. He managed Ariana Grande and Justin Bieber and all these other acts. And, he had really big hits with these people. But some of that is because these artists are spectacular artists. By the way, congratulations, Ariana Grande, on your marriage.
It's Ariana Grande Gomez. Ariana Grande.
No.
Butera Gomez.
No, it's Ariana Grande Gomez.
Ariana Grande Butera Gomez.
Yeah, so anyway, She's married now. Congratulations to you. But let's not act like she didn't do that on her own. Yes, she had good management, but also the bitch is a singing phenomenon. She is a singing phenomenon. She is like signing a Mariah Carey. She's that talented. She's that much of like a shining example of stardom. And it didn't come from just anywhere. It's something that she worked on fanatically before her debut album came out. Same thing with Justin Bieber. YouTube blew him the fuck up, and Usher got with Scooter Braun and said, we need to take this kid off of YouTube and make him some real money. So it's not like Scooter Braun built these artists. He just fucking lucked out. He just fucking lucked out. And he managed to not fuck up managing them. Like, seriously, that's what it is. You think about all the issues that Justin Bieber had as he came out of puberty and how fucked up that whole era was before the Purpose album. How good of a manager was Scooter Braun then? He's lucky that Justin turned out the way he did. And I say all that to say, I think if you parallel that with Big Hit, Hype, and their strategy, they have people that come to them talented. And it seems like the only thing that they're doing is either capitalizing on people who have had either a ton of success or a ton of investment in them, or they're just fucking keeping the doors open and the lights on. And they have to do more. They have to prove that they can do it, in my opinion. And I mean, obviously with BTS, they don't have anything to prove there. They don't have anything to prove there. But with the others, they have to prove that they're capable of upward management. That they're not just stagnant or keeping the status quo, but that they're capable of actually creating superstars out of some of these smaller groups. But that's just my take on the whole thing. And I realize my opinion is not going to be the popular opinion. I know there are people who are probably actively like dislike. Also, let's be very clear. Saying Big Hit and saying Hybe is not the same as saying BTS. It really is not. It really is not. It really is not. But it's one of those things that they really, really need to work on sustained success and growing success. Those are the places where I think that they really underestimate how much of BTS's growth was actual organic growth compared to them just being the greatest management and entertainment company in the world. I think they fucking lucked out. I think they fucking lucked out with those 7 guys. Straight up, they fucking lucked out. And if it wasn't those 7, and God forbid if it had been fucking Iron that ended up in BTS instead, who's to say where it would be? So thank you guys for watching. It's been a fun discussion. I am sorry that I'm not uploading nearly as much as I used to. I've told you guys this before and I'll say it again. I got a new job a little over a month ago. And when I say a little over a month ago, I mean like a month and a few days ago. And I've had to work really hard with that job. And so I've put a lot of time and investment in that during the day. And when I come home at night, I'm just really not always in the mood to film. I can't really film during the day because a lot of times I work through my lunch hour. But I say all that to say, I haven't forgotten about you. I haven't stopped listening to K-pop. I haven't stopped buying K-pop. That's all still there. It's just I'm super busy, and unlike other people who are really good at compartmentalizing and like living a busy life, going to school and being a totally invested YouTuber, that's just not my bag. Because on top of being a YouTuber and having a job, I'm also a parent, and so that's another whole set of challenges and other attention that has to be taken. So yeah, it's just there's a lot going on in my life, but I've not given up. I haven't completely stopped. I'm still here. I'm just a little distracted nowadays, a tad bit distracted. But if you insist on seeing more of me, if you miss me so much and you can't stand to be apart from me, I have literally 50 plus videos, I think, probably 50 videos with Mason on his channel, BL_Kiki, where we talk about boys love, and it's really entertaining stuff. If you don't like boys love, then I don't think you should watch. But Mason's channel, he renamed it to BL_Kiki, and we review boys love series, boys love movies, and we have a really fun time. Like a really good time. If you want to watch one of our episodes and you wanted to just start somewhere in the middle, you didn't want to start from episode 1, we have an episode that we did where we reviewed the TV show Manner of Death. High key, one of my favorite talks we've ever done. We had such a good time talking about Manner of Death. It was just a blast. So, yeah. Thank you, Dear Tin. Also, Dear Tin, for those of you who don't know, Dear Tin has got one of the best YouTube channels on YouTube when it comes to the K-pop community / boys love / anime / whatever the fuck she feels like talking about. First of all, gorgeous person. Like anytime she decides to actually grace us with her presence on camera, super beautiful. But also, just such a cool variety. Like it's shopping trips, it's unboxings, it's chats about what their life is about, you know, just and all the different things. It's K-pop, it's boys love, it's just a really great channel. And I think that I'm in a very privileged position considering that they are so much better of a human being than I am. It's surprising that they give me the time of day. But yeah, I say all that to say, if you aren't subscribed to Dear Tin and you're watching me, what the fuck are you doing with your life? I'm such a waste of time compared to her. So check it out, and I will talk to you guys later. This has been a ton of fun. Oh, and there's Meg, another super wonderful person, better than me. And gosh, there are so, between Alondra, Meg, Dear Tin, all these other people, why are you wasting your time with my channel? Seriously, go find something better to do. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.